This is Reverend Frieda Gillespie, your interim minister, and this sermon today was one that was purchased by a congregant at another church in 2007. Who purchased it was named Don, and you'll hear him referred to in this. In fact, these are his words about what he wanted me to talk about. I'm thinking about how difficult it is to find what's real in this world. How telling a lie or gossiping or expressing things in a slightly misrepresented way skews another person's and our own understanding of reality and our place in it. How we exaggerate to make a point, and that may become our reality, and that of the people around us. How we must learn to tell the truth, be honest, first with ourselves and then with our neighbor. How we must learn to rely on our own first-hand experience and not on hearsay and gossip. How can we be openly skeptical and not become cynically skeptical? Well, that sounds like a whole sermon right there. There are several interesting questions that Don raises. First of all, there is the whole matter of what is truth. By that I mean, are we ever really able to talk about objective reality or truth? Or is our understanding always colored by our beliefs, our experiences, and the emotions that come out of that soup? That's one meta question that in what Don is talking about. Another is, how aware are we that we skew the truth? When we are lying, I think we are perfectly aware of it. There's that tingling sensation, that little niggling of guilt, or perhaps a thrill of trying to get away with something, hoping not to get caught. But we know we are lying. We intend to deceive. Temple Grandin, the animal scientist who has autism, writes about the fact that, quote, typical, unquote, human brains have selective perception. This is a feature to help us survive. We target something we're interested in and block out most everything else. Autistic people don't do this. They see everything that their eyes pick up. Grandin gives the example of a study where people were asked to view a football game and note how many times the ball is passed. During the game, while they are counting passes, a woman in a gorilla suit steps up in front of the camera and waves. 50% of the people polled afterwards never saw the gorilla. So there's a big gap in our ability to perceive things. Much of the time when we speak about events and situations, even the ones we are closely involved in, we don't really notice how our view is distorted. We feel that the truth is what we feel. The poet Wallace Stevens said, "Things seen are things as seen." It takes a lot of self-awareness and discipline to discover the illusions and misconceptions in our feelings and perceptions. And it's even harder to find a way to stand outside of those illusions. If we approach Don's question as an ethical problem, then we really have to make this distinction. It's quite a different thing to distort the truth because we intend to deceive or hope to avoid the truth, and another to be unaware of how we are distorting it. Emily Dickinson wrote in a poem, quote, "Tell all the truth, but tell it slant," unquote. As children, we learned about the world through experience and imagination. A young man, 4 years old, told an adult friend that he was going to drive his mother home. He had her car keys, and he told us that he knew how to drive and had a driver's license too. Was he lying, or was he projecting himself through imagination into his future? Are we not allowed to do that as adults? Well, we do it anyway. Jennifer and I were talking one day about how we've both at times in our lives rewritten a story to make ourselves seem more witty or smart or courageous. We pretend we really did say or do those things we thought about after the fact. I told one story so many times in the past that I couldn't tell you anymore what really happened. These were harmless lies, except in the fact that we were expressing a desire to be something we weren't, as if who we were wasn't good enough. But perhaps, like Alex, we are imagining a different future for ourselves, trying on a potential that we hadn't yet developed. Maturing in large part means becoming more authentic, more real. We don't necessarily get more proficient or dazzling, but we don't need others as much to confirm our worth. The voice of the poet is the voice of the imagination and portrays meaning, not objective reality or facts. Thomas More says, quote, "Forgetting this familiar world of fact is a necessary step toward remembering the deep truths that matter. We need to go into a dark theater, shutting out bright light, and tune into the mystery of the movie. We need to go to bed, turn out the light, and have a dream that will give a hint about the theater we lived during the day. We need to shut our eyes in the church, temple, or mosque, and in that gesture of forgetting, remember who we are at the deepest level," unquote. Perhaps then it's just as important to guard against the coldly literal as the poor or false perception. Don asks how we can be openly skeptical rather than cynically skeptical. Cynicism seems to imply disappointment in the world or in human nature. It seems to me there is an emotion of contempt there in our doubt. We are expecting the false or distorted, and we see it everywhere. I wonder if you can be cynical if you don't deplore the way people are. And I wonder if it would help us to think not in terms of a single truth, but as Moore says, there are many truths. If you happen upon one, it may be comforting, but don't dwell too long there or you will miss the next truth, which will be equally important. The Sufi Nasruddin was asked, "They say your jokes are full of hidden meanings. Are they?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I've never told the truth in my life, not once, nor will I ever be able to do so." Now that's honesty. There is meaning in whatever people say. It may or may not correspond to objective reality, but it has a purpose and a meaning. Perhaps if we keep this in mind when someone is ranting about something or someone, or exaggerating, we can wonder what this means to them, rather than worrying so much about whether it's true, especially when we can't know. Do you recall the now classic Japanese film, Rashomon? The story is that a samurai and his wife are on a journey. Sometime in the woods, a bandit appears. By the time he leaves, the woman is raped and the samurai is dead. A woodcutter finds the samurai's body and calls the authorities. The bandit is captured. What follows are the accounts of the woman, the bandit, the woodcutter, and the dead samurai, aided by a medium. Each of the stories is different, each one told from a different perspective and with different motives. They each told stories that made them sound brave or blameless. The woodcutter's story, when he finally admits he saw the whole thing, makes everyone look bad. And we find out later that he left out the fact that he stole a valuable dagger from the crime scene. The film's point is that it is impossible to really ascertain the truth with conflicting stories. But an important question is, were they all lying or telling the truth they believed or wanted to believe? There is an interesting ending to the story which expands the meaning of it. The woodcutter, a priest, and a commoner are talking about this episode, and they hear a baby crying. They find a baby abandoned by its family, and the commoner steals its clothes. The woodcutter tries to shame him, but the commoner reveals that he knows the woodcutter stole the valuable dagger of the samurai's wife. The priest is upset about the baseness of human nature, but then the woodcutter offers to take the child home. He says he has 6 children already, but one more won't make any difference. This shed a different light on his story, his lie, and the omission of the theft, and the priest's faith in humanity is restored. When we are dealing with human lives, what is the truth? What would you have to find out to know why somebody is incapable of love? Why someone lies? Why they fight? Why they put on a white hood? Why they live in poverty? Why they need to be rich? Why they take drugs? Why they are so angry? What complex set of circumstances and feelings led to 9/11 or Columbine? It's been said that 1 out of every 4 African American men will go to prison sometime in their life. What's the truth about that? So often we hear a first level what, but we don't ask the second or third level questions that would give us some clue as to the meaning of the what, the why, the who, when, questions that give some of the bigger picture. I'm not sure skepticism helps us as much as being interested in the truth. Pascal, the great mathematician, said, "Truth's so darkened nowadays, and lies so established, that unless we love the truth, we will never know it." Don mentioned gossiping too, and that is a bit of an elusive subject. What is gossip, and what is an expression of interest in other people? Will Rogers said, "The only time people don't like gossip is when you gossip about them." Come on, come clean. Voltaire said, "When we hear news, we should always wait for the sacrament of confirmation." That seems like wise advice. Can we suspend judgment about what we hear, knowing that we can't know the truth, at least at that time? We are lucky when we can verify any of the massive amounts of information that is projected in the media to us. All of it is hearsay. If you listen to a news program, even on NPR, there's a small amount of information and then a large amount of speculation about that information. We take that as news. How would we ever confirm or deny any of it? It's kind of scary, isn't it? And yet we are called upon to make decisions at the polls, and even more, we are quick to add our own speculations and beliefs based on our limited knowledge about national and world events based on all of this hearsay. We do this all the time. Skepticism might be a tool to lead us to the right questions to ask, but compassion is also an important tool that leads us to care about the truth. Courage is essential too, because the truth can get pretty scary, and the truth can end up revealing something about us. So Don is suggesting that it might be possible to commit to a spiritual discipline of truth-telling. Given all these obstacles to knowing the truth, much less telling it, what would this look like? I suggest that the issue is not so much telling the truth as it is knowing ourselves and our limitations. We might better ask ourselves why we react to people who exaggerate or speculate. So what can we do? I think first and last, we must know ourselves. If we know that our perceptions can be faulty, we will be less likely to defend them to the death. Secondly, we can make a discipline of uncovering little by little the beliefs that distort our perceptions of ourselves, others, and the world. Reactions are the indicators that there is something unexamined at work. This is hard work and takes many years of looking and often the insights of other people as well. Along the way, though, we can enjoy the fact that we are becoming less reactive. If we are upset with someone and can't talk with them, we can make a point to choose someone to talk to who will be objective and ask us those second-level questions that will help us understand ourselves and the other person better. If our intention is self-awareness, we will be able to protect others from our reactions. In another way we can do the same thing is to ask a neutral party to arbitrate a conversation with the other person, someone both people trust. This allows both viewpoints to be aired and has the benefit of another perspective, albeit through their own lens as well. In our reading, Donna Farhi says that practicing right speech, which is step 3 of the Eightfold Path of the Buddha, means that when we say something, we are sure of its truth. The step in the Buddha's path before right speech is right intention, and the one before that is right view. If we can purify our perceptions and clarify our intentions, then we can have right speech. I would suggest that we could all do with a lot more wonder and a lot less sureness about the truth. Perhaps that's what we can share with one another without harm, a sense of wonder about each other. Perhaps we exaggerate and slant and twist because there is somewhere in ourselves we know that if we really could show the truth of who we are, the truth would be bigger and fancier than anything we've actually lived. May it be so.